We're gathered here today to send an urgent message to government. British Columbia's coastal salmon fishery is experiencing a disaster. It's hard to overstate the importance of the salmon run to local economies up and down BC's coasts. And as you will see from the panel I'm about to introduce, there's an industry-wide consensus about both the degree of the disaster and the urgent need to help workers and communities impacted by the collapse of the 2019 salmon run. Just like with other disasters, both the provincial and the federal government have a role to play in supporting workers and mitigating the impacts on communities that depend on the fishery. And beyond the immediate help that families need, governments would also be wise to consider how it can plan for the impact of climate change on our fisheries. Proactive solutions need to be in place, and they shouldn't have to require months of meetings and urgent pleas of help before action is taken.
You read almost weekly about the collapse of salmon of all species in this province of BC. And we have a government, the Liberal government, that made very certain commitments to Canadians. They spoke of science-based decision. They talked about whole of government approach to problems. I can say to you that early in the Liberal government's term, myself met with Minister McKenna in Niagara Falls during the Assembly of First Nations AGA. And I imparted to her the need to fulfill the whole of government approach in terms of salmon. I spoke to her about the need to work with all her colleagues to address climate change as it will impact the traditional foods of Aboriginal people. And I say that I have not witnessed any measure of cooperation across the departments to meet this incredible challenge. And we're here today to call upon the government for disaster relief for the communities that still rely on commercial fishing up and down this coast. The hardship that is now hoisted upon hardworking Canadians is a very large problem within the communities. And the government has stepped forward with certain monies over a number of years to rehabilitate salmon across British Columbia. We cannot forget the hardworking people that are being left behind as a result of the management decisions of DFO because of this government's lack of living up to their commitments about a whole of government approach to all the challenges they face. And we need to be able to have communities be able to survive, to get through the winter that's coming, and to ensure that the capacity and the capital assets, being the boats and the nets, are not lost. And so they can be prepared should we have better runs of salmon with the efforts that are being put forward by the government. But the disaster relief need is paramount in British Columbia. As we have witnessed across other parts of the country, we so call for that type of relief here in British Columbia.
I'm from Lac Lamps, which is a native community on the north coast of BC. We have 3,800 plus members on our band list. And for thousands of years, we lived off salmon, mainly sockeye. And for years, we've seen a downward spiral on our fishermen in the community. That our community has probably the most gillnet licenses in BC, 50 to 60 licensed boats that can't make a living anymore. They can't afford to put fuel in their boats. Along with that comes the hardships during the winter months that people have been talking about. So we have to come up with solutions. Short term, our people are in a very hard place. How are those families going to eat this summer or this winter? You know, this summer our food, social, and ceremonial fishery was shut down for the second time I know in our history. So lack of salmon, lack of food. We've been living off salmon for thousands of years where we live. So there are a lot of people that are going to be hard put this winter. And how do we come up with solutions to deal with that? You know, we talk about the problems, climate change, seals and sea lions. There's lots of them out there. You know, I would suggest that we cull some of them. because they're sitting at the mouth of rivers and creeks and eating fish when they're going both ways. So there are a lot of solutions that we could look at to alleviate some of the problems we're going through. So, thank you.